They say that human beings have soul. Well, the piece of sculpture might have a soul. We don't see it, but it's there.
I'm Gary Tessier, and I've been sculpting snow for the last 30 plus years, actually. I sculpt because it allows me to get out of the office and explore my creative side, and to clear my mind and clear my body. I've sculpted with many people, but probably the strong connections over the last 30 years has been Réal Bérard, a wonderful gentleman, my son, Denis Vrignon-Tessier, David McNair, Denis Savoie, Denis Duguay. There's been many individuals, but the principal has been Réal Bérard, and over the last number of years, my son, Denis Vrignon-Tessier.
When you're a kid or I wanted to help out my dad or Réal, I would be the little, what do you call that? Like the go-to kid or whatever. It's like, here, do this, do that. And you would just, I don't know, you're 8 or 9 or 10. I forget when I started, but you'd just like have shovels and just help him out by shoveling away. And then sometimes it'd be nice and like, okay, here, work on this little thing that you can't screw up. And you'd be like, all right. Or sometimes I'd be shoveling, it's like, come on. And I'd be 10 and complaining that I can't get to work on the block. Réal as a kid would be this guy with a really thick accent, and it was almost funny. I was like, I don't know if I understand what he just said. Because he'd be like, oh, puis là j'étais à la pocatière or something, speak like that. And as a kid, you're like, who is this crazy old man? And I'm exaggerating, but just like you saw something in him by the way he interacted with people, and he had this brightness in his eyes.
Denis is a very strange little creature. It's amazing. Denis is a bit like a Michelangelo. I mean, on the long run. We'll talk about Denis in 20 years from now. I'll be in a very happy hunting ground by then. I was amazed by his sculpture. Couldn't believe it. I said, did you take a course in anatomy? Did you take a course at the fine arts school? Nothing. And that's the beauty of it.
I was thrilled when my son first started snow sculpting with us. He asked to do so when he was age 2 or 3 to come along on our trips, and I said, you can't when you're 18, and he kept on repeating that question. But he started doing pieces when he was 15, 16. When Denis turned 18, he joined Réal and myself for our first trip to Quebec City, and it was interesting because Denis at that time was convinced we should have won. Not just Artist's Choice, but the Jurors Award on that. And Réal and I both explained to him that being here is not about winning, but it is about the process. And that was, I think, a huge learning lesson for Denis. I've often looked to Réal as a bit of a maestro, a mentor, a father figure. And then I have Denis that is my son, obviously, who's come along as well too. And we all have evolved in that process as well. And for me, it's been a continual thrill to be able to work over the years with these wonderful individuals.
How do we go from this essentially blank wall of snow to creating something that has depth, that we can see shadows in, etc.? And one of the ways we do that is through sketches or maquettes. Maquettes are like a little scale model, right? One of the easier ways to start is through the sketches. And what we do is applying essentially a grid to that sketch and then using that to map out the drawing on the block of snow. It's a bit like when you're in grade school and your teacher gives you this assignment of having a little drawing and you have this little grid over it, and then you essentially make it bigger. You just follow the lines and trace it. And the same thing happens with a block like this.
Sometimes, you make plans, but sometimes the snow says no.
The sun's been brutal on this snow already. It's melted it in about 8 inches, and then it's refroze. So instead of being soft snow, it's just sheer ice on the outside. So what you had today is not what you might necessarily see tomorrow.
The Snow Sculpting Symposium of the Festival du Voyageur, currently in its 19th year, just celebrated its 19th year, is a wonderful grouping of teams from all over the world, and we've seen them literally from all over the world, from the far south point of Argentina to Finland, all over Europe, the Netherlands. This year we had Italy in, France, Germany, Estonia was here for the first time. This event is special because it's not a contest. There is no jury, no choice by judges, by public or anybody, which is the case for most other events throughout the world. And that there's a sharing. There's often times you'll see teams grouping together to assist another team to finish off their piece. There's all those exchanges that take place that make this a real special occasion.
That you get to meet people from all over the world, exchange views on both on art in general and on very practical things like tools and tricks to do your job done.
We can't buy in some store snow sculpting tools, yes, special tools.
Meeting other sculptors from around the world when we're in competitions and things like that, you see all these tools that they make and it's like, oh, I would really want to use that thing, but where you can't buy these things, you have to make them yourself.
Of course, with the International Symposium here at the Festival, all the teams that are in from around the world, the sharing, the community, the cultural exchange, it's just fantastic being here and meeting people from all over the world.
We met in the Toronto airport, and at that point we just smiled at each other and continued on our way, not realizing that we were heading into the same destination. When we got off the plane, and when Laura was getting off the plane also, and the organizers were there to pick us up from the airport, suddenly we both got onto the same bus. We got off at the same hotel, and we ended up at the same event, carving. We have been living together now for 2 years, and carving together for 3 years.
Yes, and today, exactly today is our anniversary.
For 3 years.
Yes. Hey, I need to take a picture. You can see through the hole, eh? Exactly. Wow.
In that moment, she never spoke English.
No.
So we did a lot of sign language.
Little children have no trouble. You have a Chinese little one, another little one from Pakatawagan, and another one from all over the place, and they all communicate. They don't complicate things, no. They use their hands or their expression. It's very nice.
Can you compare your competition experiences to this one, which is not a competition?
Sorry.
That's okay.
I don't understand.
The liquid with the ball of air inside so that you can put it a level.
Is it tiring?
Tiring. I don't know what it means actually, but I think yes.
When I was 12, Dave McNair actually was teaching a workshop on snow sculpting, and I had gone to this thing, and I was approached by Festival to do workshops of my own in conjunction with the Forks. I'm thinking, or hoping at least, that some of the kids that had done these workshops may have seen that as the little seed of something that may nourish their excitement about doing something like this later, like I had.
Either you have it or you don't have it. Like you could spend a lifetime in art school, doesn't make you an artist. They'd say, well, I see some people doing some sculpture. I can do the same thing. The wheels start rolling. Don't ask them, they won't do it. But if you give it a chance to work in these...
There is not a better medium in the world to play with in terms of those who want to do some sculpture. And we got plenty of it here in Winnipeg. Get a box, a cardboard box, like a dryer box or a fridge box, fill it with snow and leave it sit a couple of days, and they'll go carve at it. And you can do anything you want, really.
We're still little kids, yeah. It's as simple as that now. We can imagine things, we could feel things, but we just dream. We're dreamers. It's very emotional. See, it's very tied up with the temperature. We like to pretend that they're old friends because they must have went on like people here, they go and spend winter in the warm countries, and snow, I guess the same thing. The sun just melts away and then it goes. and it comes back. Well, I do believe the big circuit, wouldn't come back here, because if it made it to the sea or it made Lake Winnipeg, and then in summertime it does evaporate. Heaven knows what. A snowflake is just like a drop of water. But a drop of water goes into snow and crystallizes, and it's very strange.